I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just gonna retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
You are now listening to Open Season. Your host, Billy Allen.
Hey, we got Open Season here. It's another Tuesday, stepping up into the 9 o'clock hour. And I'm your host, Billy Allen. On the line, we have Courtney Fallon. That was Courtney. We have Courtney Fallon on the line, trying to get her back. And a lot going on tonight, obviously with the tragic happenings of Sunday afternoon. Felt like it would only be right, not to do the Super Bowl Sunday show. Kobe Bryant tragically died in a helicopter crash on Sunday. And we're going to have Courtney dialing right back in just a second. Kobe was really a part of the fabric of the society. He was greater than a basketball player. And tonight, like I said, as we have Courtney Fallon on the line.
Yes.
Hey there, Courtney. We're just introing the show. We got things off a little bit, so hang on just 1 second.
You got it.
So was going through and was just saying that tonight we're going to dedicate the show to Kobe Bryant. When I was 9 years old, that's really when I remember following Kobe. He's really what got me into basketball. He was on the Sprite commercials, taking Brandy to prom. He was 17 years old and making video games and became one of the best of all time, one of the greatest through his sheer desire, his will, winning over the hearts of L.A. as a young kid and winning championships until 2009 and 2010 over his bitter rival, the Boston Celtics. And he created the most perfect facsimile of Michael Jordan, his career and achievement-wise. And, to see Kobe was not able to continue on that phase of his life, his very successful post-career. It's been very tough for all of us. And one of those in particular, we've got her on the line now, Courtney Fallon from WEEI. Courtney, thank you so much for joining us. And how did you hear and what did you think when you first heard something had happened to Kobe?
I was home, flipping through Twitter, taking a nap on Sunday, and I got a text message from my friend who is from the same town. It's not South Marion, Lower Marion, forgive me. But she is from a couple of towns over. She's a lifelong basketball fan. Her father actually played collegiate in his last game at LaSalle College against Kobe Bryant's father. They called Jellybean Bryant.
Yep.
Of course, in the collegiate level, and went on to play internationally in Italy, and that's a lot of what Kobe Bryant picked up in his life and his career, why he's so beloved internationally. He really took a page out of his game for the international fans. He really admired the European style of basketball and emerged that with a power and a drive and confidence, a work ethic that's second to none, and became one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And so I got my text message from one of my friends. I wasn't checking Twitter at the time, so I hopped on Twitter and utter disbelief, much like the stories that are coming out from a lot of the people. Shaquille O'Neal, I know that TNT just aired somewhat of an open mic wake, so to speak, on the air, honoring Kobe Bryant's life and legend, and it was the five of them who were on the broadcast. Charles, of course, was not there, and Shaq kind of had a similar story, was working out with his son Shakir, and who, Kobe had texted earlier that morning, was very close to him, and
I saw
his
that.
nephew came up to him and said, "Hey, did you hear the news, and put his phone in his face, and Shaq lashed out. And I think that that's just kind of the sentiment and the world that we live in, that we get information through social media. It can be controlled chaos. It can be beneficial at times, but a lot of times it's a sick, twisted portal of lies and rumors, and that's kind of what I was dealing with right after that, was flipping through my Twitter feed.
Yeah, that actually brings me to a good point about Rick Fox. I think you might be going there. And I know there were people putting out fake news saying that at first only 5 people had perished, maybe Rick Fox was involved, and that was all prematurely. You verified that Rick Fox was not involved. Can you just kind of talk about that as a journalist and a reporter? How many sources you check before you personally release something like that in today's world, like you were talking about?
This one was different and was personal.
Okay.
I've known Rick Fox for the last 20 years of my life. Vanessa Williams, who he was married to for about 10, 15 years. They have a daughter, Sasha. I am extremely close to that entire family since I was 12, 13 years old. So immediately the panic set in my mind when I'm seeing all these people with unconfirmed reports. And then I see my best friend's dad's name listed there. Can you imagine in your life that someone calls you and says, hey, your best friend's dad is dead? Oh, wait, just kidding. And that's at the helm of someone else saying something that they don't know. It infuriated me. It brought me to tears. I was hysterically crying for much of that morning until after I finally got a hold of Rick's daughter, Rick's stepdaughter. And confirmed with them that they just got off the phone with him. He wasn't on his phone. It affects so many people in so many facets of life, and it's what we have to deal with in this day and age. And it's just journalism 101. Listen, I'm a traditional reporter. I grew up in a newsroom at WHCH in Boston, Channel 7 News. I was a newsroom writer. I worked 13 hours a day at times. And I sat there during breaking news, the Egyptian Spring, the Arab Spring, and when they overthrew Mubarak. And in 2011, I remember that day. I remember the day Osama bin Laden was killed. There's a certain protocol that you learn that really people that, I would say 98% of people who are on Twitter or have a Twitter account will never have the privilege of experiencing. And it's really hard, but yeah. I think that there's a reason that you have a blue check mark next to your name, and that's not a brag in any sense.
It didn't sound like one.
The people, because this one was really personal.
Just a little.
And I don't, I feel for Kobe's family and his loved ones that are finding out from TMZ, but
yeah,
that's how things work. TMZ in the last few years has earned kind of
they've kind of broken everything.
Credibility. Yeah, they've earned their stripes and their credibility. So I can't fault people for that. But in terms of at NFL Network, some of the stories that have broken, story with Josh McDaniels and earlier a couple weeks ago. Those are the types of stories that you break, and when you're calling into a national network newsroom and you say, I have this, you have to check with 3 sources, at least 3 to 4, to confirm before they let you go.
Wow.
And roll with it. Because if you're wrong once,
you're
it's
screwed.
over. That's the honest mistake. Just the honest truth. Sorry. If you're wrong once, it's over.
All right. Well, hey, let's transition back to Kobe. With all the remembrances going on, kind of what everybody's doing. The Mavericks have mentioned retiring the number 24. Everybody's kind of got their spin on what they think should be a Kobe tribute. What's your favorite suggested Kobe tribute so far?
Mike Greenberg had a really fantastic point this morning. I'm in kind of the minority, I guess, at this point.
Yep.
I think that everyone is emotional and they want this statue erected and that one, and I think that what the beautiful artists around the world that are paying tribute to him, I think that's one of my favorites. The photos, the photographs, and the artistic flair, I think, is it's a joy, and it's just something for me personally that brings a smile to my face. But I don't believe that they should change the NBA logo to Kobe. I think we're jumping to conclusions a little too quickly.
Yeah, I would agree.
If it's changed, I think if it's changed to anyone, it should be changed to Michael Jordan. He's the godfather of this generation. If it goes from Jerry West to Michael Jordan, but I do believe that Kobe Bryant is Mike Greenberg had a great point this morning. Just given all of the international sounds and the players of he spoke 3 languages, if maybe not 4 or 5. I think it's the one NBA player each year that has given an outreach to the international community.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fantastic tribute to him, of the one player that has really bridged the gap between the National Basketball Association across the globe, because that's exactly what Kobe did.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, he definitely has a legacy going across internationally. I can remember hearing stories that when he was 14, he beat Brian Shaw in a game of one-on-one over in Italy. And you hear kind of how he picked up like Slovenian or whatever to try to talk trash to Luka. For you, what is Kobe's legacy at the end of the day? We'll let you out on this. For you, what's Kobe's biggest thing that he passes on to today's NBA?
I mean, man, the biggest thing for me is how many lives that he touched. I mean, not only in the city, unifying a city in Los Angeles. I don't, forgive me for saying this, but the only thing I can compare it to is if this happened to Tom Brady. The international, I think Kobe is a lot more gregarious than Tom in terms of reaching out to people. It seems like he really took time out of his day and devoted his entire life to his family, his workouts, and still managed to communicate with about 50 people a day.
Yeah.
Because that's the impact that he had. I being warm, being open, being competitive on the floor, but taking your ego aside, and having a completely different personality than you do as a competitor. I think that's kind of his biggest legacy, his biggest takeaway. He will always be remembered as not only one of the most ferocious, relentless, incredibly talented basketball players of all time, but just of the impact of each and every life that he touched, not only in the National Basketball Association, not only in the WNBA, but also to college football.
Yep.
He spoke to, NFL teams. Bill Belichick had mentioned that he spoke. He just took the time to.
He was almost like a heroic figure. It's like
He was. He was. He was a hero to so many people, but he allowed himself to do that.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of putting your ego aside and putting the stress of your family aside. And just managing that day to day. We all think this one thing's happened to us. It's the end of the world. But clearly he knew how to manage those things with ease, and that was the most beautiful part about him.
Well, Courtney, we certainly appreciate you putting your ego aside and joining up with us tonight. It was good we were able to sync up. Fallon and Allen doesn't have the worst ring, but hey,
I like it.
Hey, we'll let you out on that, and we appreciate you hopping aboard tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, it was great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye. So, great stuff out of her. That's pretty cool stuff that she was so close to Rick Fox. As we intro in my good friend Eddie Bratz. Eddie Bratz on my left here. Obviously, we've got Brian producing the show, but some pretty good stuff there out of her, and pretty interesting how close she was to Rick Fox.
Yeah.
Good friends for 20 years. That's a pretty hot source.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we intro you in on a really somber kind of night. It's been such a successful post-career life for Kobe Bryant. I don't think any of us could even probably have imagined it when it started years ago. I thought maybe he would go off into retirement. Maybe get fat and happy. But he never really slowed down. He's been on detail with ESPN. He's invested in body armor. He's been winning Oscars. And, what Courtney was saying is he's been around so many of these young guys, kind of like taking these guys like Jason Tatum aside. It's really unfortunate that was cut short for him. And, what are your thoughts as we bring you in, Eddie, on the passing of Kobe?
Yeah, I think it's obviously the saddest sports story in my lifetime. The guy was, I loved Kobe, even as a Celtics fan. My first memory of Kobe Bryant was at an All-Star game. I can't remember what year it was, but he was rapping in Italian. Do you remember that? It must have been one of his first or second All-Star games. And he freestyled in Italian, and I was just mesmerized by, this personality that is able to get out there and do that. And, next thing you know, it's like, he's just very captivating.
Yeah.
His interviews, and obviously the guy was an assassin from, outside.
Yeah, I think just his competitive fire is something. We hear these stories all the time about his competitive fire. I heard stuff from Robert Horry. He said when he first met Kobe, he said they pretty much had to tell them in practice to slow it down. Like, hey, you're kind of ruining the curve for the rest of us.
Yeah.
They said at first they were all upset at Kobe when he came in because he tried way harder than anybody else, and he got rid of all the beer from the locker room. They had to get rid of it because he came in at 18. But, he was this young kid who came in with this fire, and you hear about it all the time. And I think one of the craziest things is that Kobe didn't necessarily need to have this fire. He was the son of an NBA player. He was, traveling over to Italy all the time. And, from day one, he wanted to be Michael Jordan. I think that's the biggest thing. There's so many guys, T-Mac, Grant Hill, all these guys, I think they wanted to be themselves, every time they asked. And we've got one ringing through here. Hi, you're live on Open Season. Who do we got?
Yo, it's Whitey from Queens.
Whitey, my man. Tough night.
What's going on?
Yeah, we're sitting here tossing things back and forth around the passing of Kobe Bryant. Pretty tough night for us. We got Eddie Bratz on as well. But we're just talking a little bit about how, Kobe wanted to always be that Jordan. There's so many guys like Grant Hill, T-Mac. They all kind of wanted to be their own game. When they would say, you're the next Michael Jordan, they'd be like, no, I kind of, my game. But Kobe really was that guy who wanted to be Jordan. He wasn't afraid to, and he wasn't afraid to miss the next shot. I can remember him saying, if I miss a shot, I don't give a bleep, because, and I think at the end of the day, we leave, and I think Kobe took the most shots of anybody by over 1,000 field goals, and it was just because of that relentless effort. I mean, Whitey, when you think about it, what stands out for you about Kobe?
Yeah, I don't recall ever getting this devastated or a celebrity death in my entire life, and it's a lot like, remember like Anthony Bourdain was tough, but I didn't really get sad. I was just like, oh, that sucks. But I don't know, Kobe hit me differently. I was a huge Kobe fan, like for the first half of his career when he was with Shaq. That's only because they basically won the title every year. It was kind of like just like Golden State Warriors type of rapper. You're just like tired of seeing the same team winning all over again. But then he just like, so he was a super talent back Shaq. But then when Shaq left and he just became the Mamba, that's when just, fell in love with the guy. Like he just became a whole different animal.
Oh, where are you? You're fading out on us.
The gym, the last one to leave. Even once he was like towards the later stage of his career, where he was already established, he had 5 rings, he was already, Mount Rushmore. He was still outworked, like rookies and kids that haven't proven anything. So.
Yeah, I can remember when he tore his ACL, he literally thought that he was going to come back stronger. Like, they said that the doctors and everything, like, Kobe was never even taken down by his injuries. Like, that Achilles, somebody tearing your Achilles at age 34, we'd all say you're done. Kobe came back off a torn Achilles. I mean, I think that's honestly part of the greatest part of his legacy, playing those last 3 years on, like, a bad Achilles at an old age.
Did he win the scoring title that one of those years?
I don't think so. I think that was like when he was kind of done. But I mean, I think he won the scoring title like right before he hurt his Achilles.
Really? What the year he scored the 81 points, right? He won the scoring title that year. Was that after the Achilles?
That was 06.
Oh, okay.
So that was some time ago before the Achilles. But yeah. But
I remember. Yeah, I remember.
This has definitely hit me harder than anyone too. I mean, I can't remember crying actually. Tears coming out of my eyes for an athlete. When we hear passing, for us, Junior Seau was a tough one to take. I can remember, up here, and he had tried to commit suicide, had really bad CTE, and tried to commit suicide again, but nothing's really, kind of come close to Kobe at all. What this kind of reminds me of is like close. Michael Jackson, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't shed a tear for Michael Jackson because all the stories of the never ran you.
I guess just meaning he was like the person of a decade kind of.
Right. I mean, that was the biggest celebrity death in terms of like impact on society and culture, but yeah, for real. Like, I mean, Kobe hit me harder than any other.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. You know what? I come to love Kobe since I can give my perspective. So that year when he knocked the Celtics out, and he pretty much ended the Big Three. I was rooting heavily for him, just so my Boston friends, just like yourself, couldn't tout being a time champion when the Knicks haven't won basically in 20 years. And so that was the first time I really started to like Kobe. And then he dropped. All right, so he broke the scoring record in Garden. He put up 60 points. The entire stadium,
Dude, your phone is crappy. Are you in the basement somewhere or?
What year are you calling it from?
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah, I think so. Anything's probably better than what we were working with, but go ahead.
Sorry. Last time I called in, the entire office could hear me shouting about Jeter, so.
You're on probation now? Got it.
Yeah, I'm back in, so I think it's probably better. But, yeah, so that memory of that watching him drop 61 and the entire Garden just chanting Kobe, like not even chanting for the Knicks, that stood out because New York loves Kobe. The first time we started loving Kobe, he showed up at Rucker Park and balled out.
Oh, I remember that.
And that was unreal. Right, all right. Kobe is, and New Yorkers just respect his grind. The Mamba mentality is just
right.
We respect hardworking athletes. We don't respect divas. You know what I'm saying?
Think about guys today too. How many guys would go to Rucker Park and ball out? No, I can't lose my endorsement deal. I can't get hurt. Kobe was there. Wasn't afraid to mix it up with all the big bodies and play a full day at Rucker Park. Forget what year that was, but yeah, I totally remember that. I mean, it was he was just an absolute savage all the way through and would take any opportunity to play ball. But selfishly, I like how you were rooting for him over the Celtics. I was always a fan of him, even when he was playing I mean, even kind of to Ed's point, it's even when he was playing against the Celtics, it's you had to root for him just as a competitor. You were afraid. I was talking to my friend, Justin today, and we were talking about the two guys we were ever really afraid of were Manning and Kobe. You were just afraid of Kobe. LeBron, you kind of know what he can do, but I mean, Kobe was just going to come out there and try to kill you. I can remember Game 7 when they won in 2009. I think Kobe was 6 of 24. He just wouldn't stop shooting. He was just, he was going to go down with the ship, and they ended up winning, and, the rest was history. They were able to get 2 championships at the end.
Yeah, and another interesting viewpoint I have that probably not really anyone would have is that
maybe Eddie's got it. Let's see.
Me and Kobe both share a connection with Italy. So Kobe lived in Italy his first 8 years of his life. I have family out there. I routinely visit them, as you know. And so we both share, an affection for the country. And he's actually a legend in Italy. So he's a fan of AC Milan.
Yeah.
So AC Milan had a huge tribute to Kobe earlier today. And half the stadium was rocking Kobe jerseys. So that just goes to show you like just his reach globally. And yeah, so basically, it's just kind of like I kind of like got that connection with him in 2009. That was the same year he dropped 61 at the Garden. That was the first time I went to Italy, and then I kind of started looking into Kobe a little bit more. Then I kind of learned about his whole, Italian connections. I was kind of like just vibing with him over that. So yeah, it's just tough to see, man. This is the worst tragedy I've ever seen in sports my entire life.
Yeah, I know, especially with his daughter. You imagine what those last moments were like. It even seems like, even to the end, even as a father, he was the most competitive. He could have been sitting back. What is he doing on a Sunday? He's, getting his daughter to an AAU game in, like, the most efficient possible transportation, whatever, so that they could probably practice as long as they needed. And, you see all these memes of Kobe on the sideline kind of talking to her at games, and it just kills your heart. It's terrible. And
that's another huge blow was to women's basketball. Like Kobe's daughter was definitely on like a Bronny path, like the son daughter of superstars who are just regularly coached by their superstar fathers. She was on pace to go to UConn. I mean, we don't have any interest in watching the WNBA, but we would turn it on to watch Kobe's daughter, right?
Exactly, and I think that's the
it's
point.
a
It's
huge
so
blow
polarizing. Like anything involving Kobe, we care about what his daughters are doing. We've cared about what his family's doing. It's like, even though there wasn't a male heir to the throne, we still care. And I think that's crazy. I mean, did you hear anything about the Mike Tirico thing and Gordon Hayward going back and forth on what actually happened on the last point in Kobe's last game?
So he had a foul shot to get to his 60th point, and Hayward intentionally violated the when you step into the lane during a foul shot. He did that intentionally in case Kobe missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but did you hear that? Did you hear Gordon Hayward came out and he was like, "No, that's not true. I just violated it, actually."
Oh, really? You said that?
Yeah.
Maybe Tirico just made that up.
Of course he did. Of course he made that up.
No, he clearly did. It was pretty hilarious. They're like, it's funny. You've got people fighting over Kobe stories now, or people setting the right stories on Kobe stuff. No, I think that's true, because just the other day he was, you're talking about what a hit he was for women's sports. His daughter was, but even himself, even last week was talking about how there's a few WNBA players who could play in the NBA. Whether he believes that or not is a completely different thing. But I think what he's saying is, there's no ceiling for women, and as a female, you can kind of, you can aspire to be in the NBA or whatever the case. So, he was leading, a lot of things for the women's rights. I mean, do you think he's part of the best or worst trade of in NBA history? Do you think him for Vlade Divac is the best trade in NBA history?
I mean, yeah, I can't imagine there being a trade ever being worse than that. I mean, Kobe Bryant for Vlade Divac.
Isn't it just amazing to compare those riches? Charlotte's like, yeah, let's get rid of this 17-year-old kid, whatever. It's like Kobe Bryant. Just always got to think.
Yeah, this is the type of stuff, being a Knicks fan, that will never happen to our franchise. We will never trade for a future superstar.
Oh, R.J. Barrett isn't the next Kobe?
I mean, we drafted with the third pick, I'm just saying, it's so mind-boggling, the stars that we missed out on. Steph Curry being picked one slot before the Knicks. Missing out on Donovan Mitchell, Kendrick Nunn this past year. It's just all of our lottery picks are busts, basically. So R.J. Barrett, I'll give him some.
Let me ask you this: as a Knicks fan, do you draw any parallels between Kobe and Jeter?
That I was actually I actually wanted to get into that tonight. I think they're.
Well, we're not giving you the whole show tonight, but.
Yeah, I think they're identical comparisons.
Really? Jeter
to Yankees. Jeter to the Yankees is basically the same thing as Kobe to the Lakers. I mean, they both have 5 rings. They're both absolute legends. They're both considered to be not the best of all time, but among there. They're both completely hard work. They're both extremely hot, like good role models too. Like, I mean, Kobe did get into that, get into trouble that one year, but he pretty much, you know, like he's raised 4 daughters.
Yeah.
You know, he's atoned for that. I would say. But yeah, I would think they're like. I would say Kobe and Jeter are basically the same athlete. I mean, this is what I can't fathom being like what it's like to be a Lakers fan, because if Jeter went down like this, I don't know. Oof.
Oh my God, yeah.
I
think it's so
called him
tough
last
too
week. I
because
told you he's my Lord Savior. You know, he's like my Jesus.
oh, we don't
Like,
dispute.
and that's Kobe's the same way. It's a Lakers fan. Like he's their idol. He's their god.
No, I
So
know.
I can only
and it's
imagine
amazing.
what it's like to be a Lakers fan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, are there any moments like what's your favorite? We'll get you out of here on this. I mean, what's your favorite Kobe moment of all time, or what is like Kobe's legacy to you? Kind of what like when you see the picture of Kobe, like what's kind of what are you envisioning?
My personally favorite moment was when he dropped 61 at the Garden, just because he kind of paved the way for all future superstars to like be appreciated by New York basketball fans. Like us New Yorkers, we're really into basketball. So if you look at like when KD comes to the Garden, this is why all the superstars say they love playing in the Garden, because New York Knicks fans come to like admire their game. You know what I'm saying? And I'd say Kobe paved the way for that. That night he dropped 61. The whole stadium was cheering for him over the Knicks.
Yep.
You know, like you saw that with LeBron when you come. Like we know the Knicks aren't going to win, so we're just coming to admire greatness. You know what I mean? So that's why all the superstars love playing in the Garden, because they get like a really good response from fans. So I would say that's when I was like in awe of him, was that night. You know, he broke the record.
Yeah.
Which Melo broke later on, by the way. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
we don't have to go.
that's right. We'll cut you off with the Mellow talk, and we appreciate you checking in with us tonight, Whitey. Thanks for calling in, and have a good rest of your night. Get back to work.
Yeah, guys.
All right.
Good night.
Take care. So yeah, I mean, I would disagree on any type of Jeter comparison. You're a New York Yankee fan.
Yeah, I mean, Jeter just doesn't have a personality.
Yeah.
He's a bore. Now, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think this would be as hard to take if his daughter wasn't on the helicopter? Yeah, like if he got into a car accident and died?
I think it would be different.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
I think it's tough to talk about kind of Kobe's post. You know, you're talking about Kobe's like post career, and like it just looked so bright and promising. And like when you have like the picture of him taking care of his daughters, and then you're just thinking of the act, like his last moment, he was trying to help his daughter, you know, improve her game. You know, he's trying to get her to this AAU tournament. You know, it's just so tough because I think it humanizes him. You know, I was kind of saying earlier that he's like a superhero. I think it kind of humanizes us. Like, wow, he was taking his daughter, you know, to a game. And like, how many times can you think of, you know, you taking your sons to games? And, you know, every father has pretty much been in that situation.
Yeah,
and it's like taking the bulletproof armor off of Kobe and, you know, exposing him as a human. So I think that makes it a tougher pill to swallow when you see that like father element tied in with everything.
Yeah.
I think it's tough too because you saw him working with so many of the young guys in the NBA. You know, he was one of those guys who reached out, seemed like he was always willing to. It's like if you were a squeaky wheel looking to get the oil, like if you wanted Kobe's time, like Jason Tatum was a huge Kobe fan, and I mean he was able to get Kobe's time, like, and it seemed like a lot of guys were able to do that.
It is interesting. Like I see all these people have a Kobe story, and usually people are in a race to see like, oh, you know, who could have the most personal, who could be hurt the most by something.
Right.
But like they all really did have a connection with. Like I saw Jimmy Fallon. I'm like, well, how's Jimmy Fallon know Kobe Bryant?
He was on the show 15 times.
And they met when they were he was 17. They had hung out at a party or whatever, and they've been friends ever since.
See, I think that's part of what gets lost in Kobe's competitive demeanor. We all kind of like lost that he was like a person too, like friends with all these guys. And when he retired and he wasn't the Black Mamba anymore, it's like, wow. I mean, he's actually got all these business connections. He's friends with all these guys.
I mean, he's a great speaker.
Yeah.
As far as like
He's such a such a
like,
good.
You go to the gym and you're like, man, I'm such a slob. Kobe's up at 4:30 in the morning and I'm hitting the snooze button 14 times.
Kobe just talking about his morning routine gets you tired. He's like, well, I'm up at 4:30 lifting weights, then I'm getting in 500 shots, then I'm driving my kids to school, and you're like, well, that sounds like a nice week.
I know.
So, yeah, and it was something where, I mean, and you were telling me about his sleep schedule.
Yeah.
He sleeps 3 hours a night. What is that called?
Like polyphasic sleep method.
I mean,
3 hours a night.
If somebody asked me to sleep
naps.
for 3 hours for one night, like that would be tough to get through. I feel like, you know,
Yeah.
let alone living off of that. So it's just amazing. The guy was literally, you know, to the dying day, just trying as hard as he could. He was such a curious guy. They would always say he would ask so many questions. I remember Jimmy Fallon was saying that he gave Kobe a book, and Kobe, you know, just kept asking so many questions about the book.
It was Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah.
Sorry, Jimmy Kimmel. And he's like, he just kept asking so many. He's like, I don't know, Kobe. I didn't write the book. And he's like, I got him in touch with the author.
Can I tell you that I did watch that, and you know what stood out to me? That he got him in touch with the author. Like, if you gave me a book, could you like put me in touch with the author? Yeah, I'm gonna get John Grisham on the phone.
That's so true. J.K. Rowling. She says these Harry Potter books seem a little off. Can I get a?
Yeah, I found a plot hole. Oh, let me get you in touch with J.K. Rowling.
That is probably the most funniest. That is probably the funniest part about that. Is Stephen King available?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. No, that is a pretty good hookup. I'm confused about this. Well, I guess that's kind of first world problems there, but you know, and I think too, just part of it is. Like we think about the kid, you had asked, you know, does it make it tougher? He was writing children's books. He was starting to make more movies for children.
Yep.
You know, so it's just that the whole thing all tied in together. You know, very very much cared about his kids, family man.
Yeah, I mean he was doing. I mean,
and the last guy to call his teammates soft like Charmin. I mean, that was the beauty of Kobe too. He wasn't afraid to say, oh, what do you want me to pass it to Smush Parker? I remember that one year where they were asking him about his passing and his assists. It's like, what do you want me to pass it to Smush Parker?
You know, I never got the whole thing about the passing. Like, I don't want Kobe passing the ball.
Exactly.
He's the best player on the team. What do I want him passing the ball for?
Exactly. I don't want Kobe passing.
You know, I'll tell you what, the difference between like watching him versus the guys that play now, Kobe's not taking a rest day. If he can get out there, he's playing.
When you look at his games played, anytime he could play 82, he would.
No,
I
agree.
Even towards the end, when he had like the Achilles, he's playing more games than like Kawhi Leonard is at 25 with no Achilles injury. So, Kobe, it makes me, you know, and then you had guys like Kyrie sitting out that first night. It's like, do you think that's really the tribute that he wants to see? You know, I get canceling the game that they did in Staples Center. Obviously, I think they should do that.
Well, did you hear the reason why or not?
I didn't hear the reason why. I just heard it was like the next game.
This could be a rumor, but I heard that they were going to have Vanessa and the family come to the game, and they wanted to reschedule it for when they were ready to come.
Wow.
Yep. So, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine her coming out in public anytime soon. But
Yeah.
But that's what the rumor was.
Yeah, I think, I do think you're really right about, having the daughter involved. That really does make things a lot sadder, because
yeah, I mean, because you're thinking about,
Kobe.
Three kids lost their sister, they lost their dad.
Yeah.
But I mean, his wife has to find out through TMZ.
And that's the worst too. Is like you think about that. And I think about when the news first came out, somebody sent me something saying, is this Kobe stuff real? Where did I go? I went to Twitter, and it's like, we're going to find out our whole...
Where were you what were you doing?
I was honestly just hanging out. I was honestly, like, just getting ready for my interview.
I was in a football field playing football with my kids when I got a text message about, they're like, oh, have you heard about Kobe? And it was from someone who's not even a basketball fan. And I'm like, no, what's up? Whatever. He's like, oh, he died in a helicopter. Like, so now I'm like, what? Died in a helicopter?
That was the biggest
And then
thing.
I couldn't find it anywhere.
TMZ had it, and then like places had verified it in like 15 minutes. Like I thought it was this awful thing, this rumor or whatever when it first happened, and then everybody had it within 2 seconds. It was, and it's just so painful. I mean, it's. I think for me, it's really tough because like I liked Kobe when I was like 9 years old. I mean, I can't really remember. Aside from Gary Payton, I can't remember like another guy who got me into basketball at that time. He was, like I said, he was doing endorsements and all. He was the first guy. We look at LeBron now and we're like, wow, he had a $90 million shoe deal before. But Kobe was the original, really. He was the guy who he had like I think it was like a Sprite deal. He had NBA courtside with Kobe Bryant. That was like out before he was even in the NBA, I want to say. Or it was out after his rookie year where he only averaged 7.6. It was like we made Kobe Bryant a star. Like we just cast him into L.A. as a 17-year-old, and he came out of all that with his determination, his grit.
I'll tell you what. If you compare him to, Courtney was saying Michael Jordan. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Jordan's, best player of all time, probably. But
probably
the stories that you hear about Jordan now are like the complete opposite. The story you hear about Jordan are
he gambled,
he golfed 36 holes in the morning. He was drinking all day, and then he'd go play. Kobe's working out all day.
Kobe didn't touch anybody's.
He doesn't. I don't even think Kobe was drinking alcohol, right? I don't think he drank it all.
It doesn't seem like you could work out as much as he does and drink alcohol.
Like 3 hours.
True.
Like all these other guys are like out there partying. Like you heard the story about Allen Iverson, where Kobe's like,
I'm going to the club.
I'm going to the club tonight. What are you doing? I'm going to go to the gym. Even during I remember during the finals. I think it was the second time that they played the Celtics. There was a game in Boston. I can't remember who won, but it was like 2:00 in the morning, and they had photos of Kobe in the gym at the Garden shooting. 2:00 in the morning after the game was over.
I remember Jay Williams was telling a story like when he was a rookie with the Bulls, and he was like, kind of like an up and coming, going to be a hot commodity before he got into that motorcycle accident. He said he like got there. I think he was there like 4 hours before or something like that, and he said like Kobe had already been there for like an hour and a half, and Kobe like was just. He said Kobe stayed the entire time that he stayed. Like Jay Williams was just shooting for hours. He said Kobe never left, and then he said Kobe like went up to him and he's just like, I just want you to know that I know, like basically like I got you. I'm gonna outwork you.
Yeah.
And I mean that's just like insane. It's like what we said. Even when he was 35, didn't have to put in the extra work, or like Whitey was kind of saying, he still did. And we've got one ringing through here. Hi, you're live on Open Season. Who do we got?
Hey, this is Justin from Charlestown.
Justin, how's it going tonight? Tough things going on, but it's a very somber show for us. But I guess what are your thoughts as you're calling in and we remember Kobe Bryant?
Yeah, no, I mean Kobe was definitely someone when he'd come to the Garden, everyone would boo, but he was one of the athletes that no one around here really liked, but they all respected. And I'd say the one thing that I'm certainly going to miss the most is the killer, instinct and attitude that he brought every night, and the type of basketball that he brought every single night that, frankly, the NBA today is pretty soft. With, players taking days off and everyone being buddy-buddy, and Kobe wanted nothing more than to rip your heart out every night. And that type of basketball, it's now going to be gone forever. It's just a sad day that he's gone. And the way that he passed away is even sadder, but his legacy will live on forever, and hopefully some of these NBA players today can take away some of the things that he left in the game to make the NBA so special. They certainly left his footprint in the NBA for his entire.
Hey, Justin, what do you think is the difference between Celtics fans' response to Kobe versus LeBron? I hate LeBron, like as a person, not as a basketball player, but as a person. Whereas Kobe, I just didn't like him as a basketball player because I hated the fact that he would, beat us all the time. But like, I hate LeBron as a person. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only time that LeBron really made people change their mind in Boston about him was Game 6.
Yeah.
When he came in and just stomped his foot on us and tore us apart, and he just took over that game. I think everyone around Boston, the decision that kind of ruined his legacy, not just in Boston, but a lot of places, the way he handled it. I'm sure he would certainly do it differently now. But Kobe I've never, in terms of athletes in sports, Kobe and Peyton Manning were the two athletes that I feared more than anyone. And LeBron might be better than Kobe at the end of the day, but Kobe wanted to come in and he wanted to dominate every game.
Yeah.
And that type of attitude that he brought on a nightly basis is so rare, and I don't see any athlete, including LeBron, wanting that. I just feel like LeBron was number one pick, always had, he was supposed to be the chosen one. Kobe was chosen third team.
Yeah.
And he wanted to prove everybody wrong, and he was obsessed with basketball. I don't think LeBron is obsessed with basketball.
No.
I think he's very good at it, and he loves it, but Kobe was obsessed with it.
Could
like
you imagine
Tom Brady.
Kobe Bryant having a TV show during his playing career? Are you kidding me? He would never do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think
I
Kobe
could
would.
see
I don't think Kobe would do that.
Yeah, I could see him potentially doing that. I just feel like I feel like now sports is so different than it was even 5-10 years ago. Like that wasn't around ever anymore. Like even Tom Brady now is on social media. Like he was never on social media before. And I feel like Kobe really opened up to everybody once he retired. I don't think he ever opened up to anyone while he played.
That's a good point. He definitely didn't, and it's a different Mamba that we saw in post-retirement, and I think that's why people are so sad, because we saw him being that father figure. We saw him being so successful in business, in movies, and, moving the game forward for females. It's just it's so tough to see how successful he was in his post-playing career, because, as good as he was in his regular season career, you could have argued that he was kind of trending upwards. It seemed like, he was getting into he was really creating a lot of good for himself, and, certainly for his family, and they had a young one there, but, it's so.
Even, in the Olympics back in the day, certainly Kobe would help with, helping other athletes, other team members get better, show them things, but it came out later on that he was studying those players' moves, so that
Right.
when it came to regular season, I already know your moves, and I'm gonna kill you on the court.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah,
he would never
that
come
actually
across-
is great.
Yeah, he would never come across the court and say, buddy, like after a game he loses, he's not going to go across the court and dab up LeBron. Be like,
Yeah,
great game.
I still remember the sneer, the Kobe sneer, after he would hit those shots, and he'd do that with his teeth. There's nobody that does that. Nobody that salvages a win. I think that's the great thing about Kobe, too, is that not only did he care about being personally great like Jordan, he cared about winning in team sports. Like, he cared about the fact that people had questions about him with Shaq. He wanted to answer every question you possibly had about him. Like, oh, he hasn't done it without Shaq. Oh, he never beat the Celtics. It was like everything that you could possibly ask. Oh, he's this guy that's this former NBA player's son, and Joe Jellybean Bryant was this guy that had all the talent in the world but wasn't necessarily the best player. And, for Kobe to kind of come third out of nowhere and turn himself into one of the greatest off just grit and determination. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest things about his legacy. I mean, for you, what's the biggest thing you think about, Justin, when you think about Kobe? Is it when he won those championships at the end against the Celtics, or?
To me, it comes back to when people, once Jordan retired, who can be like Mike? Who can be somewhat similar to Mike? And Kobe thought of it as, I don't want to be better than Mike. Like he he wanted to be the best, and he was obsessed with being the best. And, at times, like, he demanded the best. But those are, the best athletes. And, even bringing it back to LeBron, the only time that, I was rooting for him was when he was going up against the Warriors all by himself and, like, taking over.
Yeah.
And he didn't say, I need this, I need that. Like, he just went at the Warriors. And that was the type of mentality that Kobe brought every night. And he even said, when he came back to Boston, it was like last time, he said, well, when I hear the boos, that's when I know I'm home. When certain athletes, they shy away from that. Certain athletes like the scaredy cat Kyrie Irving won't even suit up because he's afraid of boos. That type of mentality that Kobe brought, that KG type of mentality.
Yeah, I have a feeling Kobe didn't watch much Friends. Yeah, Kyrie with his Friends tattoo. I have a feeling Kobe didn't watch a whole lot of Friends.
Kyrie cares about his sneakers, whereas Kobe, after they got beat by the Blazers back in the day, got killed, he took all of his players' shoes and said, "You're not worthy of these sneakers. You guys are all soft."
Not only that, but Kobe did the opposite of the super team. Like he had the team. He got rid of the good players.
I know. That's the thing.
Just to prove how good he was.
Exactly.
Yeah. That type of NBA is gone now, and even there's no guy in the NBA I can say now that is that type of mentality. Maybe
is there a guy that's even close?
Maybe like Damian Lillard. Like,
do you think Westbrook is close at all? I feel like we hear a lot of times that Westbrook may be like obviously he's not the shooter that Kobe is, but do you think Westbrook has any of that Kobe in him?
I like the one thing I like about Westbrook is that he's not friends with anybody on the court. He wants to kill you on the court every night.
Yep.
And he's a beast on the floor. I love that type of mentality. It's just, I don't think Kobe would turn the ball over 15 times a game and play zero defense. But
true.
So Kobe would score 50 points and lock down the best defender, their best offensive player every night.
Yeah, he's tied for first in all defensive with 9 selections.
Wow.
So not only was he that guy that was going to score 25, rip your heart out, he's also going to peg down your best guy.
If he has two blips.
The only player like that today is probably Klay Thompson, and he's nowhere near, the Kobe-esque. But
yeah, and Kawhi, who would never play 82.
Yeah,
But he would never play a fraction of the games that Kobe would. That's the thing. It's like, okay, Kawhi, you were good. What if Kobe could have just decided to turn it on for 50 games a year, right? Instead of the 82.
You have to give Kawhi credit, though, that he turned down the super. Like, I know he demanded Paul George, but he could have gone to the Lakers and had it easy, having LeBron and KD, and he did it his own way, and I respect that.
Yeah.
And granted, he played a Warriors team last year that was very, injured, obviously, but no one at the beginning of the year said the Raptors are going to win the championship.
Oh, so, no one, not a soul. And anybody who says that they did is lying.
I saw that.
Now that I think of it, probably, the Greek Freak is probably the only guy in the NBA that has the mentality and the skill set to be somewhat like a Kobe.
Wow, that's
he
a good
wants
point.
To do something, not friends with anybody, and I hope he wins championships because that's the only guy that's somewhat similar to Kobe on a nightly basis, bringing that energy and wanting to be the best, and doesn't need a super team to do it.
Well, hey, Justin, great stuff out of you tonight in Charlestown. We definitely appreciate you calling in, and tough night for all of us, but we thank you for giving us a few minutes, and hope you have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy NYC.
No problem. I had to call after Whitey. I didn't want to say anything bad like I did last week.
Oh yeah, you apparently you got him in trouble at work. Did you hear him saying that? But anyway,
that happens to most Yankee fans. But all right, well, have a good night.
All right, take care. You too. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, what we were just talking about, the anti-super team. How many people would have gotten rid of shit? I mean, does anybody have an ego to get? Oh,
I'll tell you one thing. To me, that's kind of the one blip for me on Kobe. I feel like him and Shaq could have had a real run. Well, they possibly could have won like 8 or 9 titles. Don't you think?
I think so. I think so because Kobe was on top. I mean, they both stayed on top of their primes for like years.
Do you think if they beat Detroit, that they stay together?
Yes.
I still
I don't think
I
you're
could not
taking-
believe that they lost it. I could not
I
believe
still
that.
can't believe it either.
They had Gary Payton and Karl Malone.
That team was so good.
And
that,
Rick Fox was on the team too, right?
I don't know if Rick Fox was still on that team, but they probably had other good guys.
Yeah.
And that was when
And
was
they
when
had
those guys.
four Hall of Famers.
No, that's when those guys were still good too. I mean, Gary Payton was still
Yeah. I mean, he was good. Yeah.
fairly good.
Malone was hitting that
How did that-
15-footer from the top of the key.
How did that team look? That's a big miss right there. Is how that team lost to Detroit.
And I think
because
that
ends the whole thing too.
I think that was kind of the chemistry. I think that was kind of the end for them. But if they say man, they could have won 8 or 9 titles.
Oh, I think so because you watch Kobe. I mean, you ask yourself, Kobe won 2 on his own. Kobe won 2 with Bynum and Pau Gasol, and
Wait, was Pau
and
on both
Shaq,
teams? Was Pau on
Shaq
both
won
teams?
one with D Wade, and that's 3 championships right there between them that they won. Without each other.
Yep.
Think about. You add those 3. That's at least, and plus some of the chemistry of not leaving.
Who did Kobe beat without Shaq? He beat the Celtics once, and then who
He
else?
beat Orlando.
Who was
They
another
beat
one?
Orlando in
Which-
like 5 games. That Dwight Howard was on that
oh
team.
yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, the Dwight Howard team. Oh, that's right.
That was the
McGrady
team
on-
that
was
that was
McGrady
the
on that
te-
team?
I don't think so. That was the team that got through the Celtics. That was when KG got hurt, and that team beat the Celtics.
Oh, right,
and then
right.
they just got filleted by LA when
Yep. Oh, that's right. Yep. And Powell was on that team too.
I think Pau was on that team also.
Okay, so it was Powell and Bynum. Yep.
But I mean, you got to assume those guys won 3 championships without each other. You
I know.
could have assumed they would have won
Yeah.
them together.
No, absolutely.
So there's
I mean-
6. Then you get 7 or 8 with staying there all that
Yeah.
time and the chemistry. You think they were? Do you think they would beat? In a 2-on-2 game against? This is a question that
NBA
everybody's
Jam?
asking. No. LeBron and AD. Would they? What twosome is better? Kobe.
Well,
and
AD would
Shaq
get
or
hurt
LeBron and-
halfway through, but I'll take.
I'm taking the
who's,
Shaq and
who's guarding Shaq?
I'm taking the Shaq and Kobe all day. No, that was definitely one of the best twosomes ever. I mean, it's hard to think of a better twosome. That year where
I agree.
they actually led the league in point. They're the highest scoring twosome of all time for that 2000-2001 season. They're the highest scoring duo ever, all time history. I mean, I think Shaq. They were both at like 29 points a game. Like one was like 28.5, one was like 29 or something. So, I definitely agree and think they could have won 6-7 championships if they stayed together. That Detroit team was not that good also.
I know.
Ben Wallace was not. I mean, there were holes on that team.
They were good
If they
defensively.
drafted Melo instead of Milicic, then you have a different thing altogether. But that's a whole different story.
Drafting Milicic probably helped them win that championship. If they had Melo, they would have been awful defensively.
Didn't they win the Super Bowl before, or pardon me, the championship before they drafted Milicic?
Oh, they did? Oh, maybe you're right. Oh, yeah.
I think they did.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And somehow they had like the number 3 pick from some weird. But as we figure that out, we will end things here. We're gonna do a quick 24 seconds of silence before we tune out, paying homage to Kobe Bryant. So we're gonna do a quick 24 seconds, and then we'll say goodbye to you. And so let's go for 24 seconds for Kobe. So thank you for that. Thank you all for tuning in, watching another edition of Open Season with Kobe Bryant this evening. Again, it's Kobe Bryant night, and we hope that we were able to honor him and pay as much as he's done for us. So checking out of another edition of Open Season for Brian Murphy, for Ed Bratz, I'm Billy Allen, and we'll catch you next week.
not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just gonna retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth.